Hey teachers, welcome to our special 4-part summer series. We know how exhausting the school year can be, so we're keeping things short, sweet, and stress-free. We're bringing you bite-sized takeaways designed to help you disconnect, recharge, and reclaim your summer. Let's try our best to unwind together as we navigate the trials and tribulations of what summers truly look like for teachers.
We are so excited that you're spending your summer with us. We have 4 exciting episodes coming up. Today's is all about the art of the clean break. The next one will be about reclaiming your identity. Who are you when you're not a teacher? The third one will be letting go of teacher guilt. And the fourth one is the gentle runway, stepping back into work on your own terms. Nicole, I'm so excited about this summer series.
I know, I just love the idea of really truly talking about how hard summer could be for teachers to unwind. And I know if you're a teacher, everyone's like nodding right now, saying yes. And maybe if you're not a teacher, you're not really sure about how that works. Maybe you're curious about it. But I can tell you, if you are a friend or a spouse of a teacher, you already know what we're talking about.
It is so true. It is so hard to step away and wind down and transition into a new season. But let's start off with talking about our summer wardrobes because I was getting dressed to record this episode and my summer wardrobe is terrible, Nicole. I was going through my closet and trying to figure out what to wear where we live, where it's been raining a lot, but what to wear which wouldn't make me look as a teacher.
I'm laughing because, oh my goodness, I have been feeling this. We have been off on break for about a week now, and I feel like I have to go shopping. I have a hugely big teacher wardrobe, and I can't wear that in the summertime. I need some shorts and cute dresses, and I have a couple of those things, but you are right. Everything I pull out of my closet, I'm like, I am not going to work. I'm trying to rest and relax and unwind. Why do I still look like a teacher?
I felt the same way. I was going through and I was like, well, if I wear that, I have to wear my teacher cardigan. If I wear that one, I have to wear this. And thought, how do I dress without looking like a teacher? So I too need to go shopping, get some new clothes for my wardrobe. And maybe the sun will shine a little bit and it will actually feel like summer.
That would be nice. I feel like this sometimes too when I go out for dinner or I'm going out to an event and I've been at work all day. I have to go home, get on non-teachery clothes. And maybe just because maybe we associate, I don't know, maybe we associate our clothes at school as our work clothes. Maybe other professions feel like that as well, right? We should ask some of our friends who are not teachers. Do they feel like that when they go to work? Do they have to come home and change it to something that's not connected to their profession? That's an interesting conversation. But I know sometimes I feel very teachery when I'm out and about in the real world.
It's true. I wrote Nicole and I said, can we do a summer sweatshirt series? Because that's kind of my jam in the summer. I'm walking, I'm going to baseball, I'm going to the beach, doing all the things outside. And so typically I'm wearing a sweatshirt with something, lighter underneath.
Yeah, so maybe that's our first plan of action today. We should go shopping together. Let's do that. As we talk about the art of the clean break, what does it look like to step into summer as a teacher?
Look at
And let
my
me tell you,
eyeballs.
it's hard. It is so hard. I know I've talked before about how I get sick 3 times a year. I get sick at Christmas, spring break, and summer. And I thought I was going to be okay this year, but now I have an ear infection, like less than a weekend. And it's because last weekend I remember feeling I sat down and I was like, I'm going to watch a movie. So I laid on the couch. It was glorious. I had snacks, watched a movie with my daughter. And I could almost feel though, like the tension just like leaving my body and just truly taking a deep breath and unwinding and being like, okay, I'm going to be more purposeful about how I enter summer this year. I'm going to plan a bit more things to do, which I've been doing this week. But all of a sudden now that I feel like I have let the load off, if you will, I am sick. So I failed on that already.
I know when we were naming this episode, The Art of the Clean Break, you and I both burst out laughing. So even when you said the title just now, my eyes bulged out because I have yet to master the art of the clean break. I feel like even a week in, I have a couple of jobs that are still hanging over my head that I didn't quite get finished, that I want to get finished. I know right when I came home from work, On that Friday, I needed to clean out my teacher bag. I still had thank you cards that I still needed to write. I had a couple of student notes to still write into our platform where we keep notes about our students and the supports that they need. I wasn't quite done at the end of the day, even though I tried so hard. And those things just weigh on you. And so I think it's quite natural that there are still a couple of things left, even though we're officially supposed to be finished. And I feel like it's super hard for me to transition into actual summer holiday mode until those things are complete. I too felt unwell last weekend. My whole body was aching. I know we had done lots of moving of furniture and books and all of that. So I couldn't tell if my body was aching because it was a physical workout those last couple of days or if I was fighting something. So, Nicole, I had an epic nap on Sunday. I said I was going to lie down for half an hour. Well, it was way longer than that. My husband came in to see if I was okay and asked me if I needed something. And I just mumbled, yes, I need sleep. And he just, politely walked out, closed the door, and he knew. And then I felt fine. I didn't come down with anything yet, but I'm still a little afraid to, sort of sit down and relax.
And I feel though, even though I do have this ear infection now, I do feel like I have entered summer break more intentional this year. So I know we talked about this before. So I had got some massages prior. I had gone for a pedicure. I'd gone for lunch with some friends. And so I am being more purposeful about entering summer for sure, despite how I'm feeling. However, the clean break for me really came at school this year. So I am going back into a classroom in the fall, and of course, when you move classrooms at your school, it's difficult because it's a whole domino effect of how people move. And the one thing I just took off my plate, I just said, you know what? To my teacher that was moving out of the classroom that I'm going into, don't worry about me. I'm not even doing anything till August. I kind of just was like, I am really having a clean break because I knew that if I went in and started to set up a brand new classroom in a brand new space, it wouldn't just be a day or two. It would be a whole week of my summer at the beginning. And yeah, sure, I'm gonna have to go in the end of summer, which I actually like doing anyways. It's just that's my way of kind of settling back in. But I was like, no, this year I'm gonna just get out there, go quick, and not worry about and shut the door behind me. And which that's really truly what I did. So that's something new for me is that normally I would stay if I was moving classrooms, set up a new space. But this year I was like, nope, clean break it is. And I just shut the door and left, right? So that is going to be something, of course, that I'm going to have to deal with in August. But for right now, it feels good just to kind of walk away and not have to go back in every day to finagle with things.
And how nice for you, because I understand that the teacher who was moving out of that classroom left you a beautifully clean, tidy space that is just yours. You don't have to go in and deal with a whole bunch of things that are left behind. I feel like there's nothing worse than someone leaving you what they think are gifts and things that will be helpful, but you go in and then you just have to sift through that, which can sometimes take more time than starting from scratch. So I know for me, I was moving out of my classroom this year, and it was hard to explain to my family what I felt like that needed to be like. I felt like I needed to touch and turn every book, every object, every file, everything in that classroom because I was not leaving the new teacher a bunch of things that she was going to have to deal with. I even hired my kids a couple of nights to just come in and help me go through some things because they're not attached to things in the same way that I am after being in that classroom for 7 years. So they were able to make quick decisions. And I felt by going through my things this year, I wasn't leaving it for me for the fall. I was leaving it for someone else. So we were really able to just attack things and not hang on to things anymore and look at things through a different lens, which was great. It felt really good to leave it for her that way.
I love that you brought that up because actually this was a conversation we had with many teachers in my school at the end of the school year this year is that I am very lucky because the teacher that did leave that space for me has left it in a beautiful manner and was very purposeful about asking me what kinds of things that she wanted to leave for me. So she has up, these beautifully tacked bulletin boards and do you want the backgrounds? Do you want the borders? And do you want the lights that are around? She was really purposeful, not just leaving it, even though I did want a lot of the things she asked me, but it was really that nice back and forth understanding between teachers of I don't want to leave you something you don't want or vice versa, right? And I think that's really important at the end of a school year is to try to leave your space in a way that is welcoming and set up the way that the teacher wants that's coming in, right? Because that is a hard gig when you go into a space that's been left in a way that maybe you perhaps don't want it left. And it's just a nice way of kind of supporting our colleagues to have a fresh start and a clean break for themselves.
I think it's so important. We did the same thing. The teacher moving into my classroom is already at our school. And so she was able to come in and look around. And, she's taken over 2 leaves. So she hasn't set up a classroom from the beginning. And she's going to, of course, do phenomenally. But she said to me, I like the way yours is set up. It's nice and calm. Can you just leave all of these things that she picked out and then she can come in August? And if she looks at it and feels differently and wants to remove it all, I said, it's your classroom. Now you do whatever you want. No hard feelings. But she can go away for, 6, 7 weeks and come back and see if she still feels the same way and decide what she wants to do with the space.
Absolutely. So now that you have been on break for a week, Michelle, what does your decompression period look like? What have you purposely planned to do for yourself so you can actually step away from your classroom?
Yes, so we didn't time this trip to the mountains purposely as a getaway for the completion of the school year, but I had a day trip to the mountains to celebrate a couple of things. And it just was so perfectly timed that on the first Saturday that we were off, we were all meeting up and going out to hike and go for lunch on that first day. And I thought, oh, like one of the teachers said to me, this isn't probably well timed. She's retired now. So she said, this was probably not the best timing for you. And I said, you have no idea. This was the perfect time because it forced me to get up out of the house, out of the city. And I was so looking forward to that. The next day, of course, is when I had my epic nap and did some of the cleanup of all the things I had brought home and had to go through. And then for this week, it's sort of a quiet week because we still have kids in sports and my kids are working a little bit, but we're just around the city, which I love, Nicole, just slow mornings, just walks with the dog, exercising, prepping food for the day, and then taking the kids to their activities or whatever adventure we're on. I guess the third day we were off, we had a no driving day. I said we could do this and this and this and this, or we could just stay home and not drive anywhere. And I loved that. I didn't have to drive in rush hour. I didn't have to hustle anyone out the door who didn't really feel like going. So it's just sort of a slow week until we go on holidays later in July. How about
And
you?
yeah, I just love the idea of this that slow kind of transition into summer, right? So I think there's almost two things that I like to do in summer. It's either a slow transition in or plan something right away. Because both of those I look forward to from different contexts, right? So this year we didn't plan a vacation or getaway right away because we're in the middle of moving. But what I did do is I planned lunch or breakfast dates with a bunch of different ones of my friends. And so that's been really great. So every day for the first kind of 4 days of summer vacation, I knew I was seeing a new friend that I had, not new friend, a new old friend, if you will, as a teacher, you know what I'm talking about, because you haven't seen them for a while because you've been in the trenches. But I've met up with 4 different friends 4 days in a row for lunch or brunch, and it was just fabulous. It really just restored that connection I had with each of those ladies and also just put me in a better space to take on summer in a very restful and relaxing kind of way as I move forward into this big move that we have happening this week. So, yeah, I think planning something or planning nothing, if you will, is purposeful, right? So that you know that you're not just kind of getting up and seeing how the day goes. I think having that idea of how your day is going to run helps me personally transition into that summer and that art of a clean break, if you will.
I feel like this week we have events every evening. So whether it's a game or a practice, we purposely planned our days to be slower. I have a patio date later on this week with a girlfriend who is still working, if you can believe it. She had to work past the start of the summer break. So for a couple of days. So once she's done, we're going to celebrate and go to a patio. And I love we can just do that in the middle of a day.
And I always wondered to myself, like, why as teachers do we struggle so much in the summer to switch off? And I have been talking with lots of my colleagues about this, about our summers, and everyone's feeling pretty much the same way so far that I've talked to. And we've just all kind of come to this conclusion is because you are on for 10 months straight. Yes, sure, of course, we have breaks amongst that. However, there's that big kind of like loomingness almost going into summer of I have to get this, 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 and this done in June. And there's so much of it that all of a sudden it's like hitting a brick wall, right? So you're full speed ahead, your green is go, and all of a sudden there's a red light and you stop. And it's like you don't almost know how to ease in that yellow area, right? Of that kind of warning zone light. And I know I find that really hard too. And one of the things I've done this year is when I came home, I cleaned out my teacher bag for the first time because normally I would like just let it linger. And then every time I kind of look at it, I'd be like, oh, there's my teacher bag. I have to do it. So cleaned out my teacher bag for the first time. I removed my school email from my phone for the summer. And I know there won't be a lot of emails going through there, but even just seeing the icon on my phone, maybe it just takes that away from my brain. Also putting my computer away, like my school laptop away as well, like visibly away. So just like these little things that I've never really done before, just to kind of set myself up for being like, no, you're allowed to rest. This is your summer vacation. Let's not even talk about the fact that we don't get paid for summer vacation, which is a very big myth in education out there. But it's like, this is your vacation, right? This is your time
Mhm.
away and time to rest or recharge. So we can step back in the fall, a better teacher and a better, all around human for your family and friends. So I have been more productive, I would say, in taking the pressure off myself to
Mhm.
still be part of school because it's a hard line for me this year. It's probably the first year I've ever felt like that. And probably because you and I have been talking about it lots more than I ever have before. And I'm more
Mhm.
aware that I need to step away fully because I can tell you probably for the last 22 years, I've done so much work in the summer around teaching that I probably haven't had much of a break. And am I going to
Mhm.
still do some things this summer? Yes, I am, but I'm doing not one teacher thing in July. I do want to do a couple things. I want to read a few books and, take a training, but that's going to be way closer to the end of August for me, just so I have true time off.
I think it's so important for our nervous systems to actually have that break and to fully reset. And we've talked about being in overdrive, and I feel like we've actually been in four-wheel drive for quite some time, right? It's just been go, go, go. And I know on that last day of school, by the time we left at the end of the day, those desks were in the hallway, right? It was just crazy how quickly the school day came to an end and how those classrooms were empty because the cleaning has to start. The cleaners only have so much time in the summer to scour those desks and re-wax those floors. And so it's always a shock to my system how hard we work and how we go, 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 and then it's over. And for me, I don't know if I told you this, Nicole, but I got into the car and I just sat there. I didn't move. And then the tears came. That's when I had processed it all. I just cried and cried and then thought, okay, put your car into drive and move. You cannot sleep in the parking lot for the night. I think the exhaustion hit at the end of the day. So I think for our nervous systems to have that reset is so, so, so important.
I think for you in particular, Michelle, is that you have a hugely emotional piece to the end of your school year, right? You are stepping out of a classroom after being back in for 7 years to head back into administration. And there's a lot of mixed emotions that go with that, right? So it's tough. End of school years are hard for lots of teachers, especially when you have a transition or a change occurring in your career, in your schools, in your classrooms, and in your students too, right? It can be hard to say goodbye to some of those kids, especially when they don't want somewhere to come, or if you're transitioning out of a new school and you're going to miss your colleagues, or everything's going to be new for you stepping back into administration. So it does carry a very big mental emotional load at the end of a school year for lots of educators, for sure.
Oh, it takes me back to that last day. Actually, what happened was our bus kids go first. They go out the door. And then after that, our pickup kids go. And one of my students walked out without any of her things. She had left. She had three bags still on her hook. So I ran. I grabbed those bags and I ran to the bus. I handed them to one of the supervisors and I ran back. And I was sure I could make it, but I didn't. And so the bell went for the kids to go out the back door. And most of the kids waited because they knew where I had gone and I would be right back. It wasn't even a minute that I was gone. And that bell went and I went out, and one of my little guys didn't know that I had ran to the bus and he thought I was gone. He was crying. I started to cry. The dad started to cry because he thought he couldn't say goodbye to me. But just the thought that I had missed him and he had missed me, we were all emotional. We'll see each other again in the fall. I'm so glad he came back and that his dad waited so we could have that one last hug. But it is so hard. And even though you're going to see them in quick weeks. They're going for the weekend. They're full on in summer mode anyway, after a week in already. But yeah, it's a tricky goodbye for sure.
Yeah, and I think also as teachers giving ourselves grace about that reflection time as well, right? I know at the end of almost every school year, I will sit in the space that I've had that year and just take a deep breath and be like, we made it, we did it. I've made a difference in the lives of students. They've made a difference in the lives of myself. And almost like truly giving yourself a pat on the back. Because let's be honest there, right? It's a tough slug to get to the end of a school year sometimes. Some years are better than others. And that reflection piece, and also that you did a great job as a teacher piece just to yourself. And I remember a mentor or teacher of mine telling me that probably about my year 3 or 4, that if you can, just take a few moments in the last day of school, even, or even the first couple weeks of summer, and truly just tell yourself you did a great job, because it is a lot, right? And so it's just one way of unwinding, as well as being like, yeah, I did that. And, it's been a cool year, and kind of looking back at some great things that have happened, some things that were maybe challenging for you, and using that to move forward into your summer is also something that I like to do as well.
I still had some photos on my phone. And so after the school year was over, I was transferring them over to our school's platform, and just going through those photos was such a great reflection piece for me. We did a slideshow, right? Beginning of the year photos and end of the year photos for the kids in the class, and you could see the physical growth in them. But I said to the kids, what you can't see in these photos is your growth in your academics and in your character and in your confidence. And so going through those was a great reflective activity that was unplanned. I wasn't going through them for that purpose, but it naturally happened that I was reflecting on each child and how far they had come and what they taught me. I always tell them that they're teaching me, and they always laugh because they think that's so funny that I'm the teacher and not them, but they teach me so much in a year.
And as we talk about growth, Michelle, our growth of what it's looked like to have the art of the clean break. I know we're not perfect. I know that here we are still talking about school a week in, but I know that I have been more purposeful this year about jumping into summer. I believe that you've been more purposeful setting yourself up as you transitioned from a classroom role into administrative role into the summer. And so, teachers, we really want you to hopefully be able to pour into yourself and have a little bit of clean break from school. So put away those laptops, put away your teacher bag as much as you possibly can, and pour into the things that you want to do this summer that bring you joy and bring you happiness, rejuvenation. And if that's sleep, if that's a drive by yourself, if that's lunch with friends, if that's a vacation, then we hope that you get a little bit of that clean break as you head into summertime.
I think it's so important that we pour into ourselves the same way that we've poured into our students for the last 10 plus months. So whether you're listening from a patio or an airport or from your couch, we hope that you're able to care for yourselves in that same way this summer. So on that note, we want to leave you with this. On our next episode in the summer series, we are going to be talking about reclaiming your identity outside of the classroom, and we can't wait for you to join us.
Have a great summer, everyone.
Wait, is that the bell? The buses are rolling and we've got duty.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Teachers Next Door podcast. If you enjoyed this week's PD session, do us a solid. Leave a rating, 5 stars preferably, and a review. Think of it as giving us an A+ on our eval. It helps other listeners find their way to our neighborhood. As the kids say, please subscribe.
Do you have a burning question or topic you would like to hear about? Send us an email or message. Be sure to follow us on Instagram for show updates and details on future episodes.
This podcast was produced and edited by us, your teachers next door. No outsourcing here. The reality of all teachers. We do it all.
If nobody else has told you today, just remember, you are doing a great job. Catch you next time.
And we should mention, the ideas we share on this podcast are totally our own.